So Sherlock, the decline of the show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch is a great example of when production value takes the forefront rather than story. It's when gimmicks start taking the place of the story, not in service of the story. It's just a gimmick for the sake of the gimmick. Suddenly Sherlock has a secret sister, and she is such a genius that she has been secluded on an island for supervillains, essentially. It's like Arkham and Batman. And it feels so the whole episode takes place what feels like a Bond villain island. And she's supposed to be so brilliant that anyone who speaks to her for more than 10 minutes suddenly is in her service and will do whatever she says and becomes this zombie. Where there's a little girl on an airplane, everybody's passed out on the airplane, and she is on the phone with Sherlock, and they need to be able to help her land the plane. And in order to get on the phone with the girl, Sherlock's sister will patch them through if they complete a challenge. Every time they complete a challenge, they get to speak to the girl on the telephone. And so they're going through this maze of life and death. And we're talking about high stakes to the point of here's a gun, you have to choose, one of you has to shoot the other. And in order to advance in the game, you have to shoot one of them. Come to realize at the very end, there is no girl on an airplane. It's his sister. It's a metaphor for his sister being lost, adrift in the air with no way to land. It's so stupid. I can't really even explain it. It's a great example of why story is more important than production value. You can't switch the two. So also, let's take a look at John's wife. I thought it was just such a silly character. This is a good example of when production carries over into the show. So I mentioned before, Stephen Moffat's wife is executive producer. Perhaps that's why all this money was thrown at a story that was not developed. It was not ready for it. They cast the actor Martin Freeman, who played John Watson, his real-life wife at the time. They got divorced after. At the time, that was his real wife. So what do? They cast her to play his wife in the show. Might not have been the wisest decision. What they did with that character as well, they make her a super agent assassin who used to work for the government in this James Bond level, and you don't buy it for a minute. It's just ridiculous. And you're telling me Sherlock Holmes, the most observant person in the world who's able to pick up on all these cues, spends all this time with her, right? And can't deduce that she was a super assassin? After John's wife dies, they have her appear in the show, which is happening in John's imagination because he can't let go of her memory. And it works at first. And it could have worked well, but they made it jokey, where she's cracking jokes in the background. There's just too many jokes coming left and right in all the seasons beyond season 2. Innovative in the visual aspects of it. So I give them that, and that's one of the things that drew me in. But it all falls by the wayside when you don't have the story at the essence.